boys and girls and nerds of all ages. I present to you the Notion Nerd Podcast, presented by two British nerds with a rubbish sense of humor who talk about all things nerdy like Notion and productivity. The excitement will be unbearable.
Hello and welcome back to the Notion Nerds Podcast. We are recording this in the new year, first week, so happy new year to you all. But this will be like 2 weeks later, so we just didn't care for the first 2 weeks. No, we batch things because we are peepees. Yes, return of the peepees.
The return of the peepees in 2021.
If you haven't heard from us before, my name is Jonathan. I'm a simplicity specialist. I help small business owners make their business easier to run, finding custom solutions that work for you instead of just relying on the advice of everybody else. And Danny is to the other side.
Yes, I was going to introduce myself, but you've already introduced me for me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm Danny Hatcher. I am a content creator helping individuals become intentional and organized with their time, specifically looking at applications because we all love playing around with apps, even though some apps aren't really needed.
And you can tell that both of us have worked hard on our intros.
Oh yeah, our intros are really, really, really well worked on. But the thing is with intros and business intros is most people don't even listen to it anyway. They're like, oh, okay, they do this sort of thing, they do that sort of thing, and then they go find you on the internet anyway. So go find us on the internet. I mean, Jonathan Stewart, it's not exactly a popular name. You can rank for that.
You're not even funny. I've spent years trying to rank for that. No SEO will help with that. Although Jonathan Stewart Notion is now working, which is good. So
Exactly.
Which is pretty good.
Today's topic, John.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
You're just going to go, yep, and I'm going to talk about it now.
So today we're talking about kind of like the journey to charging. So for people who...
And that's charging money, not like charging your phone or anything.
Yeah, well, obviously not charging your phone, charging money and charging the fair amount. And it's kind of more of a business-focused episode. So people were asking, this is a kind of requested episode up from the Notion Nerds kind of channel, about mainly Danny's journey to actually charging a fair amount, because Danny started his consulting with like £20 for... I don't even know how long. And slowly and surely he's kind of...
I don't think I was actually charging, I was sort of just answering calls. And...
You weren't even... Oh, yeah, no, you weren't even charging at first.
No. And I still have calls where I don't charge people because it's just fun.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
They're not very long.
Yeah,
not very long.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having free calls, but when it comes to like the consulting and actually helping people, there is so much value in what you provide and what other people provide that it should be charged fairly. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today and probably derail it multiple times.
I was going to say, and full disclaimer, neither of us are like amazingly professional and know exactly what we're doing and earning like stupid millions and the rest of it, like some people obviously do on the internet when they give advice about charging. So we know what we know. We're not like gurus or anything like that about charging money. Or I'm certainly not. I don't know whether John considers himself a charging guru.
No.
Just sharing experience of
sharing experiences. I mean, I think gurus are nonsense anyway, frankly, because often it's just go and sell real estate. And sure, if you live in America and you have no soul.
Have no soul. Gingers have no soul.
Hey, I take great offense to that. I don't sell real estate.
You took great offense to that, Jonathan. You took offense to something.
No, not really.
Right.
So yeah, go for it.
As sort of mentioned, didn't charge at all. I didn't charge at all for anything. And the step to actually say, oh, can you pay me for having a conversation was massive. Even just like, obviously being in the UK, £1, that was massive. It was a massive step for me to say, okay, I'm going to charge you £1 for an hour conversation. I know that rate is really bad, but it was a massive step to overcome. And it's just like, how can I, mentally for me, how can I justify asking someone to pay me for something that I know? Because it was not something I knew how to do. How did you start doing that? Obviously, it's been a while since you started charging, but
I always struggled with charging, and even now, although I do charge a much fairer rate, it and you have kind of like you've got to decide what or why you're charging. Like, do you need to charge? If you don't need to charge, don't. It's fine. If you don't actually need to and don't want to turn it into a business and it's just a hobby for you and it's just for fun, then it doesn't matter what you charge. But if you want to earn a living doing it and you actually want to sustain the work that you're doing, then you have to be willing to charge more and or in the case of you, actually charge, because if you don't charge, then...
So this is something that also goes along with YouTube just in general. YouTube can be a hobby and you can just make videos and it'll be fun. But YouTube does get expensive if you want to start growing excessively because you need a camera. You can't afford not to really have either a camera or a decent phone, one of the two, because recording videos 360p or 720p or whatever, they work, but meh. Microphone, lighting, and then as soon as you start moving forward, you're like, okay, do I need a VA? Now I need some editing software. And there are hidden charges inside of YouTube that most people don't think about. So YouTube as a business, because YouTube is a business, you can do it for free, but it would be hard to sustain it for a long period of time, which is where fun and finances, those two things come together. It's got to be fun. Otherwise you get bored, you get frustrated, you won't do it. But then you need enough finances to sustain what you're doing and everything else, which is where I realized, so YouTube, you don't have to charge for your time because ads.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I started YouTube, to see from like an online business type thing. It was one of those things where I can see money go into my account, not having to charge someone and be like, okay, I'm going to charge you for the work that I'm doing. So that's why I started YouTube, so I could see that. It sounds silly, but seeing that first 2p on the AdSense bar, you're like, it worked. It worked. I got 2p. It's
not silly. It's exciting. Like, I remember when I first got paid for the stuff I did. Like, I think it was back in music, kind of when I was doing music production. It was an amazing, like, feeling. Oh, people want to pay me, even if it was like 20 quid or something. At first, it was an amazing experience. But I think if I was to have known what I knew now, I would still have been able to do music production because I would have charged far more and be able to have sustained it. The reason why, it's like such a small percentage of businesses succeed in the first 3 years because they undercharge. Because business is not easy. It's not always fun. We all go out to find it to be fun, but it's not always fun. There are always parts of your business which are just like...
That's the admin stuff. That's why you have a VA. I think when it comes down to running a business, and this is like my personal experience, for me, I make my business as fun as physically possible. So I don't actually dislike any aspect of the business that I currently run, because if I don't like doing it, I just don't do it.
True.
I have the flexibility to do that. Some people don't.
Precisely. And that's something where you're in quite a unique position, because you do live with your folks. You don't have to necessarily earn a lot of money and do a lot of things. But for many people who are starting their own businesses, they do have to, they have to pay their rent. They have to get their food. They have to, support their kids, support families, or support themselves. And that's, you're very fortunate you can take a slower journey as such.
To an extent, yeah. I think when it comes to looking at me as a case study, is a little bit biased, but I mean, I'm a student, So any student would be in a very, very similar situation, I would imagine. Obviously, I don't know situations at home. But when it comes to like the finances, if you have a job or a part-time job, and then you can start building something on the side, and whatever you call it, a side hustle or blah, 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 whatever. You can then start balancing that out, which is what a lot of people, I think, are starting to do, which is where entrepreneurship just in general is starting to become this popular thing that people like. And don't get me wrong, it's really good, really fun, but you probably will be working more hours than a typical job. But it's do you class it as working? So I'm quite open with how much I earn. And I've got a video on YouTube with exactly how much I earn from YouTube, and on a yearly annual salary, it's above minimum wage. So I could move out and live by myself, but do I want to? No. Like, why would I want to live in a two bedroom flat, whatever it is, somewhere when I can just live at home and carry on doing what I'm doing? Plus, obviously, with the world that's going on right now, why would I want to move? Like, I don't want to go through all of that stuff now. But with the finances, if you have a baseline money that you need to hit to sustain yourself, whether that's, well, I don't know, whatever it is, 700,000, 1,500, 2,000, 10 grand a month, whatever it is, find your baseline, find whatever you need to be sustainable, and then work out how you can do that. And that's exactly what I did when I started charging. I estimated how much I would get through all the different revenue streams, and then I buffered all of those. So I need to hit, let's use easy numbers. I need to hit 1,000 a month. I get, I don't know, 300 from YouTube, 200 from templates. Okay, that's 500. I need 500 worth of consulting. So I charged for the consulting for roughly what I needed for finances. That's how I worked it. And then I was like, okay, I could do 1 hour for 500 and sort it, or I could do 2 at 250 or 4, and then work out the frequency and charge that way, because that way I've hit the finances and I'm still having fun. That's how I did it, unintentionally. Like that was just my first thought. That's how I'll do it. This is my target, and that's and then having spoken to people in business, they're like, yeah, that was the right idea. I was like,
yeah, and
glad I got that.
Everybody, so money is always something that can carry a lot of weight to people, and often people go into business. Many people go into business thinking they can earn millions and 6-figure, 7-figure businesses. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Oh, you can.
You can, but whether you want to do that is something you've got to consider. If you want to reach those figures, then you have to work harder in some respects, or you have to be a bit smarter with how you do things, and it's sometimes you've got to do things you may not enjoy quite so much, and it depends on what you want.
I was going to say, this is interesting. So when it comes to the bigger salaries, the bigger incomes, the high 5 figures, the 6 figures, the 7 figures, the 8 figures, and all the other figures above that, the majority of revenue sources and revenue streams and the rest of it, it's not consulting. It's a mixture of loads of revenue streams. So the charging aspect, I think, changes dependent on the stream that you're looking at, because a template will be a different charge rate to a course, to consulting, to everything else. You look at a lot of the bigger individuals with whatever it is, when they have courses and stuff, their consulting rates are quite large in comparison to a lot of other people, because they have loads of other resources out there that are quote evergreen.
And not just that, it's not just, but because what they do in a very short space of time, they can provide humongous transformations, like absolutely massive. And when you are a really good coach or consultant, you can fix people's problems in less than 30 minutes. But if you were to charge a kind of traditional rate on that, it's going to suck. Like, the value of which of someone who can give you an hour of your time and provide you like 3, 4, 5 hours worth of coaching, it's like, it's worth far more.
And this is something I saw on So this is something I saw on Twitter yesterday, which I can't remember who tweeted it. I want to say David Perel. I want to, but I can't remember. It might not have been. But they were essentially they were talking about PhD students, because PhD students they struggle finding jobs, which is why I didn't go for a PhD straight away. And obviously, what's happening in the world now, I'm glad I didn't do a PhD or start one anyway. But the PhD students have so much information, and they can solve someone's issue very, very quickly, but they don't really have a job. There isn't really a job out there for those people. I think the suggestion on Twitter was something like, if you were to build an agency and just hire PhD students to solve specific problems, they'd probably do fairly well. And it's very similar when it comes to consulting. If you take that PhD student and you compare them to a consultant in the similar field, the consultant will probably charge 20x that PhD student, but they probably have the same amount of information. So the
I don't agree, not necessarily, because
obviously it's going to be individual.
Because like when you consult or coach or support or anything like that, it's not really the information. Like, it's not the information. Anyone can get the information. We're kind of leaving the information age. We've got so much of that information on the internet. Anything like, well, you are a really good example. You've not had to buy any courses for anything you do, because you will scour the internet to find the resources. And the truth is, everything is there. You can learn everything. You pay 10, 11 grand for these courses, but you're paying for that streamlined experience, the experience of the creator. And the coaching is exactly the same thing. You can coach yourself all you like. If you have a basic understanding of psychology, you can start doing things like that. But sometimes an outside perspective is really useful. And that's what you're paying for when you buy a consultant. Buy a consultant. I want that one. Give me that consultant. Give me that one. And also, like, every coach and consultant have a different skill set. And it's about finding the right one for you if you want to. And I'm kind of just, yeah. So a PhD student is very academic, and often academics suck at coaching.
I think it depends on the topic that they understand, and it also depends on the individual. Because when you look at a lot of PhD students, they have life experience, because PhD requires some sort of life experience inside the topic. And yes, theory isn't exactly the same as practice, but theory mimics practice. You can't have theory without practical tests, which is something that I think some people forget when it comes to academics, is that yes, the research papers are theories, but it did happen. They didn't get some invisible human beings to do this thing. It did actually happen. And most PhD studies in practical fields require some sort of understanding of people and how to work with people. So whether they are test subjects or whatever you want to call them, they have to work with people. Like that, they are literally a number. When you look at like tests and the rest of it, like person 1, person 2, person 3, because anonymity and the rest of it. But you still need an understanding of how the theory applies in practice. Because if you don't understand how theory applies in practice, you'll fail your PhD, full stop. Because there's no point understanding theory without practice. So there is definitely a gap between coaches, consultants, and PhD individuals when it comes to practical application of the knowledge. But obviously, depending on the individual, but there isn't that much of a gap in the information that they both have. And it comes down to personal experiences of what they've done. So you can have, I've met loads of people, PhD students, that I would say are better than a lot of the people out there on the internet teaching their respective topic or thing. And I've seen lots of people and businesses out there on the internet, which is up to them, it's entirely up to them, but they share information about things at their level, which is fine, and their business works because they're helping people at that level. And I know people that don't have a business, have no intention of starting a business, but know way more in the same field. And I'm like, if you just did exactly what you're doing and do it in this medium or in this format, you'll be earning 6 figures easy. Instead, you're over there, minimum wage. And it's just like...
But then again, it's that some people like it, some people don't.
Oh, yeah.
And so I know, for example, my family, none of my family want to run their own business on my mum's side because she just couldn't cope with it because it's just too much to do. When you run your own business, you have to have that perseverance to keep going when it sucks.
Oh, it's a definitely there's a specific personality. You need to be not necessarily obsessive, but you've got to have a drive, something that drives you consistently to run your own business, because you can't just turn up and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna stand in the cupboard for half an hour fiddling around because I can't be asked to clean this or do that, and you can't just rely on someone else to do it for you. Oh, can you cover my shift today? No. Don't work like that. Oh,
what shift?
Yeah.
What your 12-hour one? What? Sorry, 16-hour.
Yeah. What sleep again? But and if you don't want to do something, it's not a oh, I'll leave it for someone else tomorrow. It's I need to hire someone to do this, or I need to do it myself and just suck it up.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes to charging. If this is something I've thought about when hiring new people. Like we spoke about before the call, actually, about hiring people and the system and stuff. But I don't know whether cheapskate's the right word, but I don't like spending money if I don't need to. Obviously, courses, I haven't bought any courses because most of the information is out there. I don't need to buy the course. Would it be beneficial for me? Probably, possibly. But I don't need to buy it, so I'm not going to. I enjoy learning. That's something I enjoy doing. So maybe that's one of the reasons. But when it comes to charging, if you know there's going to be a part of the business that you don't want to do, i.e. admin, video recording, blah, 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 that adds up to the overall baseline you have. So your charge rates will probably go up as well. So I think the reason my rates can potentially be slightly lower from just looking at it from a baseline perspective is I don't have any other external costs other than pay rent and pay for stuff here. I don't have that many expenses. I don't have any kids. I don't have a house, like an entire house to pay for. I just pay for rent, food, and bits and bobs that I need. So my expenses aren't massive. But if I hire more people because either I'm lazy and don't want to do stuff and I want to pay someone else to do it for me, I don't have the skill to do whatever it is to do, and I don't have the time to learn the skill in time, so I need to pay someone to do it, or whatever the reason is, then my charge rate may go up because of those added expenditures.
And going off your lazy and just don't want to do it, not necessarily laziness, it's just prioritizing what you're really good at instead of trying to be the jack of all trades and doing every single little thing in your business. Because that's something that
I was going to say, most entrepreneurs are people that start their own business like control. That's why they start their own business.
Yeah, true. But at the same time, people who run successful business have something that they can do really well. And if they're not focusing on what they can do really well and are trying to put out fires all the time, then they'll struggle to grow. So for you, because you're doing it all on your own, yes, you don't have as much overhead, but you have a limit.
Oh, very true.
You can only do so much. So when you're at that beginning stage, I mean, having a system in place to streamline is great, and you should always do that before you hire someone. Either way, because if you don't, you're in trouble.
Yeah. We'll work it out when we get there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Have you watched Tin Star?
Huh?
Have you watched Tin Star?
Probably.
It's a series. It's a bit of an odd one, but yeah, we'll work it out when we get there. There's guns, and it's kind of like a really bad action UK. It's UK stuff, so it's UK humor.
Oh, I might look at that. I don't know. I haven't seen that.
But yeah,
cool.
When we get there, and then it's just like it's a mess.
Yeah, and your business will probably be a mess sometimes, and that's okay. Sometimes. I mean, for you, it's like, as you said, it's very much you don't have to. You have a limit to what you can do. Like you are limited, but you have a lot more free time.
I think it comes down to what you want. Like you said earlier, it comes down to what you want. If you want loads and loads and loads of money, you can't or you will struggle to do it by yourself. You will need some sort of team members, whether that's a VA or just something to help you along, because you won't be able to do it yourself if you want to earn loads of money, because loads of money means loads of work. Loads of work normally leads to either burnout or you need help. For me, at this point in time of my business and in my life, I want to have fun. I don't care about money. I care enough about money that I'm not broke and I have a computer. If I have a computer or a phone, I'm pretty good. Like food, house, bed, like electrics, like the first world basics. I was going to say the basics, but it's not the basics. The first world basics. I'm good. And then it's fun. So could I grow my business faster by hiring people and doing X, Y, Z? Yes. Do I want to? Not at this moment. And that is something I had to ask myself. Like, what do I actually want to do with my business? 2021, do I want to become a whatever figure, influencer, creator, business person? Not really. Could I get millions of views on a video? I could, but I may have to go against some of my ethics to get there. Do I want to do that? No. So I'm going to stick with having fun. And that's what I want to do. That's my ethics, my morals, my values, my goals, my targets. Alphabet, OKR, KP, whatever, Ps and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, charging, business, the rest of it, what do you want to do? I want to have fun and earn enough to keep myself having fun. Fun first, then finances.
And then, and also fun is different for different people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I enjoy, like I said to you earlier, I enjoy sitting on my arse and going through applications, exploring applications, no matter how poor they are delivered, to work out different features and things that I can add in and change here and chop and change and all that sort of stuff. And I also enjoy learning. So I consume loads of information. I think most people listening to this podcast are the same. They enjoy learning, consuming information. That's what I enjoy. And that was why I started doing what I do. I realized I enjoy learning. I enjoy technology. I enjoy applications. I enjoy productivity. I enjoy efficiency. How can I earn money doing it? Fun first. How can I earn doing it? Fun first, then finances. That, I mean, I don't know whether that's a motto to live by, fun first, but it's the one that's kept me.
Everyone just wants to have fun. They want to enjoy.
However you define fun. I mean, my sister started reading. I don't like reading. I don't like reading.
I love reading.
It's just not fun.
It is.
No, it's not. Why would I want to read black ink on a page?
It's not the black ink on the page. It's the information. It's the hearing, the experiences of the writer. It's learning.
But you can't read at ×2 speed.
Yeah.
How do you read at ×2 speed?
Learn to read faster.
You're saying you could read faster than listen to something.
Yes.
So if I put one of my podcasts on ×3, you can read and consume the information at the same speed.
Not ×3, but ×2. Yes.
I'd like to see that. Maybe that's a test we'll have to do. We'll have to get like Descript to do like a transcript of a podcast. Me listen to the podcast how I would on ×2, and you read it, and we'll see who finishes first. Yeah, it should be around the same time. Nah, I highly doubt you'll finish around the same time and consume the same information. But hey, that's an out there thing. Obviously, I know you can read fast, but I'm pretty sure, from my understanding of how quickly people can read, you can't read as quickly as you can listen, because you have to like understand the information, because you've got like I can't even remember what the gap is called. It's blah 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 gap. It's like seeing to brain computing. I can't remember the terminology for it. But yeah. Anyway,
but I don't have to understand it immediately. I only have to understand the bits I need, because that's exactly what you do when you listen.
But still, you'll be skipping over tons of words. I mean, when you speed read, you skip words anyway. You skip the connection.
But that's words. As long as you know what the right words to skip are, what words you don't want to skip are, it's fine.
Yeah,
and let's face it, you don't listen to every single word when you have it on 2 times speed or 3 times speed, do you? You can't bloody hear it.
I can. Well, the thing is, I think when you listen to times 2 speed or more, because I know a lot of people listen to it more, and I do have the Chrome extension where you can listen to things at faster than times 2 speed. So I actually listen to YouTube at 2.5 speed. But hey ho, you come attuned to listening to people that quickly, and I speak quickly anyway. I only knew I did before I started making videos, and people told me you talk too quick. Okay, yes, I talk quick. Tough. Like, I can slow down, but I can only slow down to so much until I start like not having fun. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to talk like a turtle and not enjoy what I'm talking about. You use the speed button on YouTube and just listen to it 0.5 speed or 0.25. And when you listen to videos, I mean, the video that I put out, what was it, last week, the week before, the productive consumer, where I made it times 4 speed, I got so many people that, what's going on? I didn't push the button, but that's what a lot of people do. The people that I knew who watched it at times 2 speed and who watched it at normal speed, because anyone that watched it at times 2 speed went, what's going on? I can't understand what's going on, because it went too quick. All the people at time 1 speed commented about something else. You're just like, okay, yep, I caught you out. And the people that I caught out listened to it times 2 speed because it was times 4, and you're like, what's going on? But you become accustomed to listening to whatever that speed is, whether it's normal speed, times 2 speed, 2.5. And when there is a change, you're like, what's going on? I'm so confused. But if you were to listen to it at that speed consistently, okay, this is now the new normal. It's the same as any adaptation, like physical adaptation, the gas principle, general adaptation syndrome, or the Sedge principle. What's that one? The stimulus AI. I can't remember. The Sedge principle, gas principle, basically the same thing. I remember gas because gas is more funny than Sed. Yeah, exactly. That's how my brain worked when remembering principles in anatomy and physiology lectures. Is that funny? Can I make this funny? Yes, I can. Yeah, that's how I remember things. But it's the same. Have a baseline, then you progressively overload that baseline until you generate a new baseline, and you move forwards. That's learning, that's body, that's brain, it's mental, it's everything.
It's also kind of a good concept for charging. So once you reach a certain baseline and it's just too much for you, like this is more coaching, consulting levels rather than digital products, which you can charge whatever the heck you like for. Like there's a baseline of...
Don't go 5 figures straight away.
Yeah, maybe not. You start with the kind of lowest price that feels good to you, and then you can raise it up slowly and slowly and slowly when you're ready. And when you become more busier, I know that Marie started at a certain level, and then all of a sudden she just got like completely overwhelmed and started charging a lot more. And people still paid it because they wanted to. And the same thing's happened to me. As my prices have gone up, people are still coming back because they still gain insane amounts of value from what we do together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just making sure that you can cover your baseline and then maybe add a little bit extra on top if you're wanting to really keep moving forward. Now, what that price looks like, it doesn't matter. It's not about the money, the number. We obsess over the number, but it's not the number. Once you hit your baseline, everything over that number is great. Like it's just fun.
Exactly. And I mean, I like any of you that have listened to a podcast previously, I like to associate things when I'm learning things or remembering things with stuff I already know. And progressive overload is a principle I already know from strength and conditioning. So progressive overload, whatever field that's in, it just makes sense. And that's how I've treated charging. Is I started out right at the start, right at the beginning. It's like when you start going to the gym. If you go to the gym and the first session, like, I'm going to do this, and this. The next day you're dead because your body aches and hurts. And if you charge loads off the bat, the next day you might be like, okay, now what? Because maybe you overcharged. Maybe you didn't charge enough. Like you don't know. You need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. and then move from there. So when it comes to expanding and onboarding, then to get back to the conversation we had slightly beforehand.
Beautiful. Well done. I was about to go there myself.
So to give you guys a bit of context, what we were talking about is essentially we're both using ClickUp. We're both using ClickUp for project task management, wiki, doc style information. Notion's better. Full stop. Just ClickUp's docs just F off. Go away.
They suck. I tried to use it and I was just like,
Notion on a bad phone with bad internet connection is better than ClickUp's docs. They're so annoying.
And I still think ClickUp, Notion works better for kind of. ClickUp does one thing really well, which is kind of basic, reasonably advanced, like managing your business, keeping your business running, managing your projects, managing the things you have to do every day.
Action.
But when it comes to information, from my experience, because I know you've done a bit more than me, but for what I have done, like I still enjoy Notion's interface way more. I still enjoy the flexibility of Notion to be able to create exactly what I want where I want it. Inside of ClickUp, you are still boxed, but that sacrifice of having a boxed app means you can focus on being and getting stuff done, which is fantastic, which is kind of what you want to get to with your project and task management. But if you can't get stuff done inside of that box, which is kind of a conversation I've had with multiple clients of mine, it's just like, sometimes you'll find that the flexibility and freedom of Notion is too much. And then that's when I push people and nudge people to ClickUp, because it's a nice in between.
I think that kind of comes back to the conversation we had before Christmas about the app, the dream app. Like some applications have features and you're like, I want that. And then they don't have it elsewhere. I mean, so when I was exploring with the applications yesterday, there were like 90 features that I was like, I want all of these in one place, but they weren't. Like some of the smallest things. So obviously Todoist, their natural language reading, processing, whatever it's called.
Brilliant.
I love it, but it's in almost no other application. But when it comes to the voice recording, and when you just say today or in 2 days, add this task or whatever, to do that in Todoist, you add the task and then have to go onto the microphone. In TickTick, you can just hold the plus button and it just goes straight, and it goes straight into the voice recording. But TickTick doesn't have the natural language processing. You're like, just put those things together. But then when you're looking at subtasks, neither of those applications do subtasks very well because they're just task applications rather than project. So you're like, well, now I need some sort of like subtask from somewhere else, somewhere like ClickUp. I now want ClickUp subtasks, and so I can move those around. But ClickUp doesn't have any natural language processing on the phone at all. And when you're doing it on the laptop, you're like, I've just got to type loads of stuff, which is fine and it works, which is why I'm using ClickUp at the moment. But there's other things and other apps you're like, oh, that would be cool and that would be cool. And it's finding what features you need for you and then finding the app or the apps that brings those features together, which is why Notion was quite powerful and still is quite powerful, because it gives you a lot of flexibility to add a lot of those features in some way or another. But they are workarounds at the end of the day. A lot of them are workarounds.
And a lot of them are formula workarounds, which Notion seem to have forgotten exist and are not really paying much attention to, which I think more and more of the audience are now realizing this and getting a bit fed up.
This podcast will come out, I believe, after my Notion versus Coda video. If it hasn't, apologies, spoilers. But Coda's formulas, oh my word, can Notion just adopt them? The formulas in Coda are 20 times, 30 times better than formulas in Notion. They just function way, way, way better. You can do more. They are all over the place. And it's another one of those things like where you combine things together. But do you need all of that? Not necessarily. And when you're
in Notion, I think you do, because if you're wanting to use Notion as a project management, a project and task management, you need those formulas, because you can't do recurring tasks easily. I mean, for most of my clients, I'm adopting the kind of Marie Poulin, push a button, create the tasks, drag them in, because for most people, that's all they really need. But if you really want the power of being able to just automatically change the dates and stuff like that,
as soon as you say automation with Notion, has to be formulas.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It has to be formulas or filters or self-reference filters or some mechanical function that Notion has when it comes to databases, whether it's like dragging and dropping with an auto filter or something like that, which as a concept is not easy for new people in Notion to understand.
No, I mean, once the API is eventually released, I mean, I've been playing with the unofficial one with Notion automations. That will take care of a number of issues. I feel it will help. It won't fix it. And then I am very concerned that everyone thinks the API will be like the end of all other apps. I'm sorry, guys, it won't, because look at Timeline View.
What's that? What is that?
Having a conversation with someone in the Facebook group about Timeline View. Can you make the titles go longer? Yeah, if you make the date end sooner. Well, what's the point of that? And that's basically Timeline View in a nutshell.
Yeah, what's the point in that? Yeah, I mean, I think the API will be amazing when it arrives, if it arrives, whenever it arrives. And from what I could tell from the unofficial, it's all going to be database focused, which is going to be great in some ways, but also focused. Kind of has to be database focused. I mean, you look at the APIs of all the other applications. The boxed applications essentially are a database. ClickUp is a database. Asana is a data. I don't know if Asana's got integrations. Airtable is a database.
Oh yeah, Airtable is literally a database.
Yeah. Coda, you have integrations, but the way Coda functions, it's a database. They are in databases. You can have packs, but what the packs do is create a database in the page, and you're like, well, yeah, it's basically a database.
But I'm talking like more than that, because I know a lot of my clients wanted the ability to add users to a Notion page, which I don't think that's going to be a thing yet, from what I could tell with the limited information we have. I mean, hopefully eventually it will be. I know on the enterprise plan they have some really complex stuff, but
yeah, I mean, when it comes to where applications are going, all of the applications are going in similar directions. It's kind of like, oh, you got that feature, we'll start working on that. And then they realize, oh, actually, you've got that feature, so we'll start working on that, which is why everyone's a crisscross. Like note-taking apps, suddenly everyone is trying to do backlinks because Rome did it well, and obviously Obsidian does it well. Obsidian and Rome have a bit of a competition.
Notion did not do it well.
Yeah, and I wasn't even going to mention Notion's backlinks, but as you brought them up, they're rubbish. They are useful for some minute use cases.
They're very niche, like even more niche. I don't understand how Rome Research, which is a niche tool,
you haven't seen the video yet.
Which one?
The Notion triggered video.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Like how a niche tool like Rome Research could, and one of the key functions of Rome Research could be made even more niche in Notion. I don't know. I'm just sat there going,
how did you make backlinks?
You managed to make a niche thing even more niche. Basically, from what I understand, the only reason why you would use No, there's no reason to use it. I mean, there's the Zettelgeist.
Public pages. It's wiki public page use. If you've got loads of pages and you've got pages linked together, you can have the pages at the bottom or at the top and see the links going backwards and forwards. And that's fine for navigation for a wiki doc style thing, which is where I think Notion thrives. I think that's where Notion does what Notion does well. It's doc management, wiki management. It's kind of like flashy web style building docs rather than the databases are useful, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to recurring tasks, Notion just doesn't have them. And you can't be a task manager if you don't have functional recurring tasks.
No matter how much you desperately want it, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's why both you and I have kind of accepted the fate of we now want recurring tasks. If you don't want proper recurring tasks, and I mean proper, we're talking full-blown, you set and forget kind of recurring tasks.
That you don't have to troubleshoot.
That you don't always have to troubleshoot.
You can set and forget things in Notion, but sometimes you'll have to troubleshoot it. And troubleshooting that sort of formula, fuck off.
Yeah. Why invest? It goes back to what we were talking about before. Why invest that time trying to troubleshoot a buggy formula window? Because that's what it is. It's rubbish.
Yep.
Their formulas sounded like an afterthought, and I think they're still treated as an afterthought. And the more Notion goes mainstream, the more people are going to want that formulas fixed. And by the time that's done, I'm going to spill some tea here.
That goes purely back to what I tweeted about. What was it? It must have been about a month ago now, about power users. Applications don't cater to power users; they cater to the beginner. And I understand it from English.
But they don't. Look at Notion. It's not catered to the beginner.
It is. You look at all the resources they put out. It's all for beginners. It's like, this is how you start using a page. This is how you make a page. This is how you make a database. But it's beginner. It's like right at the beginner level. As soon as you have a fundamental understanding of what the blocks do, basically, if you've looked at Notion for 2 hours, you know most of what Notion is going to tell you. Then you need an intermediate level of understanding, and that you will need to go into a community for, whether that's Facebook, whether that's watching videos on YouTube, whether that's a Discord or Reddit or wherever. The power users that start using applications, I think once you're a power user of one no-code style application, you become a power user of the majority of everything else. I mentioned this on a call recently. If you understand an application like Coda or Notion or Roam to an extent, ClickUp to an extent, if you understand those applications and how the framework and the system behind those things work, you can jump into another app. If you understand how backlinks work in Roam, you'll understand how they work in Obsidian and how they work in all the other backlinking applications, because you have an understanding of where the things go. And in Notion, if you understand how tasks link with projects and how you can make formulas to work things out, if you go to things like Asana or ClickUp or Airtable or Trello or whatever, you see all the relations, you see the dashboards, and you go, oh, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this, this is that, done. And that's exactly what I do when I'm exploring applications, which is why it doesn't take me long, because I have that framework understanding of how no-code apps work.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. And for the people that struggle to understand those applications, fine, I understand all the basics. But for the power users, it's a pain in the bum when you don't update. I mean, ClickUp, I'm calling you out here. When you don't update the bugs. Loads of updates. That's great. It's really cool. And it's nice to see the updates. Don't get me wrong. But as a power user, the bugs are buggy. They're annoying. They're irritating. And I think bugs and things like formula boxes and small functions and things like that, the people that they irritate, those are the people that are power users of the app and that can find a workaround for it anyway.
But it's just the fact that we have to find a workaround. We're really impatient, annoying people, and just like, we just want it all now and make my app better. Yeah.
This could be a hot take, but I feel like developers kind of just go, oh, power user, yeah, you can go figure it out yourself.
Well, yeah, because there's a workaround, who cares?
Yeah, I know you can't use a tick box when you're using recurring tasks in Notion if you want to have the date to move functionally, because it has to be a formula box in a date format, because text format doesn't work in a calendar because it's a stupid reason. And so instead of using a tick box, because that doesn't actually work, you're going to have to use a self-reference filter. So you have to drag the task up to a filtered view rather than ticking it off. But that doesn't really matter because we're not going to add recurring tasks or self-moving dates or any of those features into Notion.
They can't do that. I don't think, and if they do,
no.
If they do, it's gonna be awful.
Yeah, I don't think it would work well. Something else that obviously has been a hot topic today, well, yesterday and probably still today, offline mode.
Yeah.
Offline mode with applications and moving forwards when it comes to charging for people and blah, blah, blah. When it comes to business sense, if you're focused on helping with one application and your business relies on one application and something goes down, good luck. I feel bad for all of those people that had like hundreds of consultants on Notion yesterday when Notion went down, because they probably became like a help center with messages.
Yep, I did.
It's like, I've lost this. What's broken? It's broken. How do I fix this?
Why is it not working? Why can't I access this? Has something gone wrong? No, I'm really sorry. Notion's gone and had a bit of a poo now. And
yeah.
I think that's why I'm shifting away from like the Notion only consulting, and it's more solution consulting.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was trying to shuffle forward, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to run with this and just look like I'm dancing. It didn't really work for those who watched I was about to say for those who actually watched the video, but we know that our audience watched the audio and then a week later come and watch the video. Hi, you people who watch it twice. Thank you.
Oh, no,
we love you.
The thing is, they listen to it and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I might have got something from that. And then they're like, now I'm going to watch them with all their facial expressions faff around on camera. Yep.
I spent a day yesterday with doing facial expressions. It was not fun. It was
thumbnails.
And for the audio listeners, just wait 1 week and then you'll be able to see it.
Yep. Yeah, no. Oh, thumbnails on YouTube are just, they're a necessary evil, right? They're a necessary evil. That is something I may outsource later on down the line, depending on where things go. But yeah, so coming back to the offline mode, because when it comes to moving your business into different applications or whatever, offline mode applications, local storage applications, I mean, this is a debate not just in applications, but in everything anywhere. Like Chrome security. Okay, let's go to like Mac has more security. I don't really understand, but Mac has more security or whatever it is, or Linux is more local storage. I really don't know. But the arguments between all the softwares, all the apps, all the browsers, and blah 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 security. There's loads of stuff out there, and it's a discussion that will never end. But offline mode, when it comes to using applications and storing applications and backups in specific, how do you go around doing that? When someone asks, does Notion have a backup? What do you say?
No.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. It just doesn't. Like, if you want to go with Notion or ClickUp, for that matter, or any of these all-in-one tools, you have to accept.
Is it SaaS that they're called?
Yeah, SaaS. Any software as a service platform. If things go down, good luck. You're having a day off.
You're fudged.
Yeah, you're in trouble. You're having a day off. That's that. And
Google even goes down. You know, on the last, what was it, a couple of podcasts ago. Imagine if Google goes down 2 days later. Google goes down.
Flashbacks are such a funny day.
Oh,
I met my photographer on that day, the one who did the photos yesterday. It was brilliant because we just spent the first 10 minutes crying over Google going down.
I mean, it's one of those things though with the online world. obviously the physical world right now is kind of like up in arms and no one can really do anything, and businesses in the physical world are drastically struggling. The same thing could happen with the internet. I don't know whether the internet can get a virus that is this affected.
Can you shut up? Because we don't need to start talking about that, considering the last time you and I were talking about the doomsday kind of thing.
Imagine that.
2 days later, Google went down.
Imagine the internet breaking. I've just jinxed this, haven't I? Rebecca, cut it out so no one can see it.
You said it now.
Yeah, I know, I've said it.
Right, I'm going to end this episode before you screw anything else up. If my internet or anything goes down, I'm coming for you.
Imagine
Except
that
I'm not, because we're in lockdown. So
imagine that your router.
I will come for you later.
You'll be going out. You'll be like outside the house trying to grab someone else's Wi-Fi. So you can send me a message. You destroyed my internet at home. Oh.
Thank you very much for joining us on this episode. On this episode of the Notion Nerds podcast. If you like what we do, subscribe onto the YouTube channel where he's now going to put some bannering things up there to subscribe.
It's an end screen.
Do more work. If you're on the audio, then feel free to subscribe on any podcast episode. Shush, I'm talking. Be quiet. I'm doing the outro. Thank you very much.
As soon as you do the outro, people in YouTube are like, gone.
What?
As soon as you start, literally, I've looked at my analytics. As soon as you see, and boom.
And you can just do all of that wonderful stuff. But no one here is listening to this. If you are watching this ending where I'm doing all the stupid things, comment. Let us know you actually watched this bit.
That would be
put the word
peanut.
Peanuts. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
Cut.
We will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.